Yeah, I thought the first half, we got some pretty good action, pretty good movement. I thought the second half, Kentucky, certainly turned up the pressure and was able to get into us, and we didn't respond well enough. At least, turned the ball over too much, and live ball turnovers against them are really hard because now they're out in transition, playing in space. So the turnovers and the offensive rebounding, that flipped the game around that second half.
Welcome, IU fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report here on this Saturday night after the Indiana-Kentucky basketball game. A rivalry renewed, and a rivalry renewed indeed, just due to the fact that Indiana absolutely laid a turd against Kentucky. And Mike Hutsell, I got to tell you, on this historic night for Indiana athletics, and I know we'll have the separate podcast or the separate segment talking about Fernando Mendoza winning the Heisman, but overall, this was a pretty frustrating night for IU hoops.
We're going to spend about 10 more minutes than this basketball program deserves talking about this game tonight because same old crap, different color uniform tonight. They wore the white. Actually, I think they had the red for all three losses this year. That's their one consistent. They get on the road, they piss down their leg, they look like children when it's a bunch of seniors playing together, which I don't know. Can't shoot on the road. Kentucky finally figured out in the second half, hey, we're way more athletic than these guys. Let's play our best athletes. So they switched out the point guard. They put Jalen Lowe in the game. Indiana can't contain him off the bounce. They put Diabate, the Alabama transfer. Indiana can't control him on the boards. Reed Bailey looks like a tall child out there playing against real Division I players again. Take it away.
I don't know what else to say other than what you just said. Overall, just very, very disappointing and frustrating. I think we figured out early on that this team was going to be like this some nights. You could tell after the Incarnate Word and maybe the Lindenwood game that this team was going to be like this. Overall, I'm not concerned about it because this is what you're going to get from now on, probably the rest of the year. But you're still not happy about it. You're not concerned, but you're mad about it. Because I think as the year goes on, I think this coach is good enough to get that fixed and get it figured out, you would hope. Seriously, if they are not shooting the ball, it's over. If they can't hit the broadside of the barn, they can't throw it in the ocean, you're not winning a game in the Big Ten if you can't do what you did against Penn State. Because what worked against Penn State isn't always going to happen every single night you step out on the floor.
Right. And there's too many just absolute non-factors on offense for this team. There's two guys on this team you have to guard, and that's been consistent from day one. And unfortunately, 4 fouls on Lamar Wilkerson. He picks up his fourth with about 18 minutes to go in the game. And from that point, it's a gamble. It's like, how long do you sit him? Well, I think DeVries figured out he sat him a little too long. He took him out for 10 minutes of game time, and what was a 7-point advantage turned into about a 7-point deficit during that stretch. And Indiana just cannot go that long without him and DeVries on the court. Connor Enright, another just absolute zero on offense tonight. And he's a guy that shot 35% from threes. He's capable of knocking down shots, but he just doesn't even seem like he's interested in trying this year.
Yeah.
Conaway was, in my opinion, maybe the most frustrating player of the night tonight. And it's a really tough award to win when you have Reed Bailey on your roster, but his carelessness with the basketball tonight, just when UK went on its run, he had just 2 absolutely crucial turnovers in that stretch. And when UK, and it was all came during a 10-0 run by Kentucky, where they went from being down to grabbing the lead and never looking back. So Indiana can't afford to be loose with the basketball. They had 18 turnovers tonight. I think they may have ended up with a couple more at the end when I stopped paying attention. They're not athletic enough to force turnovers. Kentucky put low in the game, and they only had 4 for the night. And they're just not athletic enough to rebound against good basketball teams. And Kentucky dominating the glass, again, there's your ball game. Kentucky played its athletes. They benched Trent Noah and Colin Chandler and Malachi Moreno after halftime. Those 3 guys started. They didn't finish. They went with their best athletes, and Indiana had no way of responding.
And that Kentucky team, I don't think is really all that good, to be quite honest with you.
They're not a great team. Now, Lowe being in the lineup is a huge difference for them. He's the only point guard they really have. He's missed a lot of time this year. Had a bum shoulder. They thought he was back. He hurt it again. He came back for the Gonzaga game, but didn't really play a whole lot.
Right.
But if he's not on the court, they don't have a lot of depth in their backcourt either. Diabate, he had a high ankle sprain. He hasn't played for a few weeks. He came back recently, and he was the difference in the game, I thought. Indiana could do nothing with his athleticism, and he terrorized them on the boards.
If it tells you how just pathetic this game got to watch, it got to a point where my buddy and I watching the game were literally like trying to make a Mount Rushmore of all the substitute teachers we had over the years in school. That's how bad this game got to watch. So that kind of eased some of the pain off of it. Again, overall, tonight, that basketball game sucked. All the Indiana people who weren't there were tuned in to watch the Heisman ceremony and watch Fernando win the Heisman, which was just awesome. Then you turn it over, and I sent you guys a text where it's so cool that I get to see a player from my favorite team win arguably the most prestigious award in all of sports. And then I could turn over and watch my favorite basketball team shit the bed in a 4 or 5 minute stretch where they don't even score a freaking point. So that pretty much sums up the night. The play I felt like summed up the night for this team was when Lamar Wilkerson had a straight line drive to the bucket and he laid it up and he wedged the ball in between the rim and the backboard. Pretty much summed up the night for IU.
Kind of sums up the last 8 years of Indiana basketball in some ways.
A little bit.
How is it you wait 14 years to get this game back on the schedule? And I'm serious, Grant, I don't know a single Indiana fan who really truly cared. That's pretty sad.
I agree, and I think you chalk some of that up to the football team being as good as it is. Look, dude, we can complain about all this all we want, but at the end of the day, when we record this Heisman podcast, we're going to sound as happy as we ever have sounded. That's how I feel about it. I don't care about this basketball team until the football season's over.
Darren DeVries' best friend. Darren DeVries' best friend right now is Indiana football.
And I said last year, Mike, that Mike Woodson's best friend last year was Indiana football. And it's the same thing with Darren DeVries and them. It takes the pressure off of you. It's a frustrating night.
Grant and Mike will be back all week to talk IU football and basketball. Please join us. Thank you so much to them for taking over this podcast and doing such a great job with it. And thank you for listening. If you want to see the Central Indiana Sports Report continue to grow and thrive, please do us a huge favor and share this podcast with an IU fan in your life and help us spread the word that the Central Indiana Sports Report is talking about what Central Indiana sports fans are talking about every single day. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. I love Susie.